Christmas, Raider Nation. Are you happy with your fucking gift? Are you happy for a victory versus the Jags? Are you? Let's talk about it from the OG Raider fan, Mikey Raider's perspective. We got a lot to break down on today's Hangout post-game aftermath live stream video. And I hope a few more people join while we're going live. I hope the audio's okay. I was having camera issues that made me go late 30 minutes. But hey, it is what it is. Everything has seemed to turn to shit to some people in the last 24 freaking hours. So let's talk about it. But first, please do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel for exclusive and early content starting this new year. And donation portals are down below if you feel like supporting me, buying me a Christmas gift for a couple of dollars through Super Chat or donations. Mikey Raider appreciates you and loves you, and I'll give you shout outs during the show. And it's the time of giving. So if you're able to give, thank you. If not, no worries. I do love you. Hit that thumbs up, hit that like button. And now let's have about an hour and a half live stream where we break down the fucking controversy. Every year there's got to be controversy with the fucking Raiders. Let's break down the controversy of how every year Raider Nation is divided and Raiders gonna Raider. I want some people to debate through the chat room on how this week's game helped our franchise in any sense of the word. We're going to break it down. Let me get to the comments. We're going to talk about some options for the Raiders moving forward. What should we do? What is going to happen? I also have some theories behind what actually happened. I wish I could show my Twitter feed and other things on the screen, but I'm working with an old all-in-one desktop. I don't have the capabilities with technology to do it. I'm so freaking sorry. So you're just going to have to take my word for it or investigate after the fact. But for now, if you want to reach me or see some of my tweets that I'm going to be talking about, go to my X. It's at Mikey Raider. It's on the screen down there. My Instagram is a personal one, but my X is dedicated to Raider stuff. And you can find me on social medias down below. All right. And you have to be a member of this channel to comment during the video. So if you're not a member, you have to be a subscriber at least, for at least 5 minutes. So after you're a subscriber, after 5 more minutes of live watching, you can talk to me, ask questions, communicate, super chat, whatever you want to do moving forward. Okay? So I wanted to say hello to who's online first off and foremost, to respect you all for chiming in with me in the middle of the day. We got, hey, Angel. That's what I say to all the girls. Are you a girl? You got a girl avatar. And I always like to say, hey, Angel, or how you doing, Angel, or love you, Angel, because all women are angels until they're not. Most women are crazy, people say. But hey, so are we. All right, guys, let's talk about this Raiders game, going into the game and what it meant. Then we're going to talk about what happened. We're going to go through some options, and I'm probably going to rant and cuss and rave. So this is not child friendly. Get them out of the room. But you guys are my therapy session, okay? So let's talk about this game first off, going into it and what happened behind the scenes that some people may not know is happening. that explains the controversy even more moving forward of getting a victory. First and foremost, let me explain. A lot of Raider Nation is divided that we won the game and we did not lose the game. Some were rooting for tanking and losing the game to get the #1 overall draft pick. Some are just win baby people. And the Raiders organization is all about getting the just win baby. So it was a weird. Something happened. Guys, I'm going to have to leave the room. My camera. Okay, I hope I'm back, everybody. I'm sorry, my camera's been having issues all day. I may have to do that a couple of times during today's show where I go in and out and I have to reset the camera. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. All right, but like I was trying to say, there's a division amongst Raider fans about whether we should win games or lose games for tanking for a certain quarterback. So what happened going into this week's game that not a lot of people know about that happened behind the scenes is that was the issue going into this Jags game. First off, we lost 10 games straight. And we were one loss away from taking the overall record of losses in a row at 11. So there was a possibility that the Raiders, in a bad way, could have been a really bad franchise in the record books where we lost 11 games in a row in a season dating back to, I forgot the years, but it might have been like 2016 or something like that. But still, we were going to enter the record books if we lost another game this week. And you know that Mark Davis and other people don't want to be in the record books for bad things. So that might have played out in why the Raiders went for a win. I'm just throwing that out there. What's up, Rulish? And hey, Angel, you said we back. Yeah, my camera's having issues. So that being said, the Raiders did not want to go in the record books, nor Antonio Pierce, nor Mark Davis, nor Tom Telesco for the bad reasons of losing 11 straight games in a season. So, did that play in the factor of them trying to win? I don't know. It's just a theory. But these are things that people didn't talk about going into this week's game. Also, there are rumblings about Antonio Pierce being fired. And there are reports that the general manager, Tom Telesco, has distanced himself from Antonio Pierce as of the last couple weeks, when the reports came that Antonio Pierce may be fired, because Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, spoke about the future with Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco at the owners' meetings a couple of weeks ago. And when specifically asked about that question, Mark Davis said, and I'm not correct with my reinterpretation of what he said, but he said that Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce are going to be judged differently. moving forward and for next season. When asked about what's happening with AP and his future. So that automatically creates a distance between Mark Davis and Antonio Pierce and or Tom Telesco. They are separate. They will be judged separately, according to Mark Davis. That means he's upset. If he had any confidence and he was happy, he would have said, oh, they're coming back next year. You know, we're building this thing from the up and up. You know, Antonio Pierce is my guy, this and that. But no, he left it all up in the air in the meetings when he was asked by reporters. What's up, Dominique 5? And so that started some shit behind the scenes. Now Antonio Pierce knows he's being watched. He's possibly on the ouch, regardless if he has a 2-year contract or not. That's what he knows. Tom Telesco knows that he's probably, not him, Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce is probably a dead man walking. Tom Telesco now has distanced himself publicly in the hallways or whatever from Antonio Pierce. He has distanced himself. You get it? You don't want to be next to the dead man walking as a duo. You don't want Antonio Pierce and his bullshit to bring down Tom Telesco, because public sentiment is Tom Telesco is doing a decent job and can build this franchise with the draft picks. A lot of Raider Nation has a little bit more faith in Tom Telesco than they do Antonio Pierce as a coach nowadays. So, Antonio Pierce might be feeling that he is a dead man walking going into this week's game. So what's he going to do? If he was helping the Raiders tank previously in previous games, is he going to continue to help the Raiders tank? I believe he was helping the Raiders tank by playing Ritter last week and a couple of other decisions and stuff like that. They were helping the Raiders tank. But then this information came out before the Jags game, and now we're playing an opponent that sucks as well, and they're basically tanking and trying not to win. So now Antonio Pierce goes into this week's game with all that information in his head. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? That's the information that came out before the game. And now Aiden O'Connell and a bunch of the other players are playing for jobs next year, whether it be on the Raiders or other teams. And you know the players want to win. No players want to tank officially. No players, unless they're in on it. Hint, hint, Jack Jones. Maybe they were in on it. I don't know. I don't think so. The tanking has to come from only a couple of people to silently tank. And like I said, I believe Antonio Pierce had the knowledge that he was good because he's under a 2-year contract. They're going to build the Raiders around him until 2 weeks ago or last week when all the reporters and the information came out about Tom Telesco and Mark Davis. Now Antonio Pierce is in a pickle. He knows Tom Telesco is avoiding him. Mark Davis is probably not talking to him, and he's just doing his duties. So he knows he's a dead man walking. He's probably still going to get his money because he has a contract. But in a way, he can fuck the Raiders and coach for his life these next couple games and try to get a victory to go to another team as an assistant head coach or something like that moving forward. He won't be a head coach anywhere else, but he'll continue in the league because he can't go back to college. There's a NCAA violation against him. So Antonio Pierce knows he's looking for a job. And he feels some sort of way about Tom Telesco and Mark Davis not vouching for him. So that's what happened into this week's game. And then, like I was just saying, players want to win. Aiden O'Connell wants to start the game and win, but they replaced AOC with Desmond Ridder in a tanking session last week. And what did they do with Desmond Ridder? They didn't let him throw the ball at all during the entire game. And we spoke about it in previous videos. They were tanking last week silently, and they didn't let Desmond Ridder throw the ball. But this week, after all the information I just gave you, Aiden O'Connell was going to play. They could have put in a game plan to run the ball and not let Aiden O'Connell throw it, because Aiden will do what the coaches say. But now, all of a sudden, we had a game plan with Aiden O'Connell trying to win the game, knowing he can throw the ball and he's a decent quarterback. And he wants to win too. Aiden O'Connell wants to win too. Why? I don't think he'll be the backup quarterback next year, or he wants to try for a starting job. And he doesn't want the Raiders to tank, because if we tank and he's in on it, he's basically tanking for his replacement, in whether it be Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders or whoever. So going into this motherfucking game, there were so many reasons for players and a certain coach or two to fight for their jobs and to not tank the game. I mean, the way this shit happens for the Raiders is ridiculous. There's no communication in the front offices. There's no vouching, no talking to people. Again, Mark Davis should have talked to Antonio Pierce. If this is the case, he should have talked to Antonio Pierce and told him, dude, I'm going to move on from you next year. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but I'm going to move on from you as head coach. But I want you to stay with this organization, and we can build from within. I'll keep you on the head coaching contract. I'll pay you the $8 million or whatever it is you're getting. I'll continue this on this contract. We'll make you the assistant head coach, and maybe you'll be like the defensive coordinator or the assistant defensive coordinator, but you'll be the interim assistant head coach, and then we can build this thing together, because we love your swag, we love your passion, and we love your commitment. That should have been the conversation from Mark Davis to Antonio Pierce this past week, if the rumors are true. Maybe gave him a couple $1 million more money to stay with the Raiders, because he needs money right now. But again, that's the way I would deal with things. But apparently that's not how Mark Davis deals with things when he's dating coke hookers up in the press box or in the football box. But that's what happened going into this week's game. That was all the drama behind the scenes that could have played into the decision to win the game and to start Aiden O'Connell over Desmond Ridder. Again, they could have shut it down with AOC. They could have said his injury is lingering even more, even though it wasn't. But for transparency's sake, that would have alerted the NFL. If the NFL is not investigating that the Raiders are tanking, and there's some supposed gambling problem with Antonio Pierce, that he was gambling the night before a certain Carolina Panthers game till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's a picture out there, but it doesn't mean shit. The picture doesn't prove anything. There's no timestamp. And who the fuck cares if he's gambling? Unless it's on the Raiders, that'll be an NFL thing. But still, there's this type of information publicly that's coming out about Antonio Pierce. They're trying to smear him. And it might be coming from the Raiders themselves, so they can fire him and make him publicly look bad, which he already does because he's not a good head coach. But there's a lot of shit happening behind the scenes, again, not in a transparent manner. So that's what all happened going into this week's game. And in my opinion, I saw the announcement of the starters. Carter Bradley was not announced as the starter a couple of weeks ago with all the injuries. And Carter Bradley didn't even suit up this week. So we only went with two quarterbacks. We went with Aoshi and Desmond Ridder. Probably because we have a lot of injuries and other needs on the team. But still, it's late in the season. We have nothing to win for. Technically, we don't. Hence the tankathon that's going on. They should have dressed Carter Bradley. They should have played Aoshi. They should have started Desmond Ridder and had Carter Bradley as the backup. But that would prove that we're moving on from Aiden O'Connell. There's so many scenarios in all of this. But the minute I saw Carter Bradley did not dress, I said, oh, shit. They might try to win this game. I don't know how you guys are feeling on this, but I was very divided. Okay, you guys have seen it in all my live streams. I'm very divided. I am a just win baby. I want the Raiders to win. But looking at the entire franchise, and we'll talk about that in a split second, I understood the value of losing games. And that's what we're going to talk about in our next subject. But that's the information and the theories and the discussions that went on about the Raiders, and that might have led to the victory and Antonio Pierce going rogue. Or Aiden O'Connell going rogue as well. Again, somebody like that trying to win the game. It's really, really insane to see. And then I'll talk about what happened after the game that leads me to some of these theories and conclusions that I'm presenting here today. I made a post before the game. I said, what if Antonio Pierce goes rogue and tries to do his best coaching job in today's game, trying to win, to fuck over Mark Davis and Tom Telesco, and try to vouch and try to win another job in the NFL as a coach of some sort. I posted that on X. Go look it up. I predicted the exact outcome during the game. Now, during the game, it was a close game, as a lot of games have been this year, until the end of the third and the fourth quarter, where the Raiders seemingly, like I told you all, tank. This week was no different, except it was a close game. We had the lead the entire game. Then, all of a sudden, to take an even bigger lead, Daniel Carlson missed like a 30-something yard field goal, which he normally never does. And then the way he kicked the ball, watch the game, in my opinion, I think he shanked it on purpose in a tank manner. That's just my opinion. So I was like, okay, he missed it. Am I happy? Maybe I am. Because now the Jacksonville Jaguars can score and come back and take the lead in the game, because we were leading at this point. Then on the next series, when Jacksonville got the ball, it might have been the first play out of the timeout or the change of possession. All of a sudden, Brian Thomas gets wide open over Jack Jones for a 67-yard touchdown. And now they take the lead. I was like, oh, shit. That was the tank point. That is where the Raiders are motherfucking tanking. There it is. Jack Jones is in on it. Jack Jones is AP's guy. You know, he made a mistake to maybe he's getting cash to do that. So the Raiders can, lose the lead. And now the tank is on. So in a weird way, I was happy. I was mad. Again, I'm divided at all of this. I am emotionally fucked up between the decisions of winning and tanking. There's no right answer. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there is a right answer, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So I thought the tank was on when Jack Jones gave up that play. And then also, little side note, in my $500 fantasy football league that I made the playoffs at the 6th seed, and I beat the team in the first week of the playoffs. I'm in the semifinals. I am playing the most stacked football team in the league. And now it's late in the game or the day of the battle, and our scores, I was ahead 107 and a half to 107 versus the other team. And the game's pretty much over. At that point, I have the lead. And I still had Jordan Love as my quarterback. And I had a kicker from Tampa Bay. And I had the Green Bay Packers defense. And he only had Josh Jacobs. And like I said, this is late in the day, the end of the third quarter. And he had Brian Thomas Jr. and Josh Jacobs. And Brian Thomas Jr. at this point has only scored like 10 points, 9 points, 10 points. So I'm looking like I'm going to pull out the win. You know, if I hold him to another 4 or 5 points, and then Josh Jacobs maybe 10 or 15, then I got Jordan Love, I got the kicker, I got the Green Bay defense, and I had Jacoby Myers playing in the game. I had Jacoby Myers playing in that game as well. But all of a sudden, Brian Thomas Jr. gets that big catch play in a Raiders tanking, in my opinion. I thought at that moment it was. And that pass play garnered him 6 points for a touchdown, like 7 points for the reception yards, 1 point for the reception, and then a catch of over 40 yards and equals it into a touchdown gives him 1 more point. A catch of 50 yards and equals a touchdown gives him another point. A catch of 60 yards and a touchdown gives him another point. So that one motherfucking play to Brian Thomas netted the guy against me 17 and a half fucking points. And he took the lead like 125 to 107. But I still had Jacoby Myers in that game, right? And I had Khalil Shakir while that game was playing. Jacoby Myers only gave me 6 fucking points. Khalil Shakir only gave me 4 fucking points. And now, going into tonight's game, I'm down 34 points. And I got Jordan Love and I got the Green Bay Packers defense, and he still has Josh Jacobs. I'm dead. I'm dead. This is $1,000. What is it? I'm sorry, like $4,000 something first place, $4,500 first place, like $2,000 second place. Fuck the Raiders. Fuck Jack Jones. How fucking dare you let him do that? But it was okay if the Raiders are tanking in my mind. So I got really pissed off about that score. But then I started thinking about it for my fantasy team. I was kind of happy because I'm like, all right, the tank is in. But for my fantasy team, now I'm pissed off because they didn't tank after that. I would have been happier to lose because of that if the Raiders tanked after that play. But they didn't. They continued on to try to win the game. So I'm pissed off. All right, let's look at some of your comments before we get into the big subject. I just want to say hello. Please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. We got Dominique5 saying what's up. We got AJ Raider saying what's up. Merry Christmas, Mikey Raider. Appreciate you, brother. Frost, how you doing, my good sir? 2025 draft class is weak. Raiders should just draft best available and not reach. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a few more minutes, man, when I give some options. How much to eat butter? More than you can even afford. And I'm going to remove you. Hey, moderators, remove him. Because he's coming from a bad place. Ban user and delete their comments. There we go. John L. Davis, rumors. Well, I let everybody know the precursors going into the game and the drama surrounding AP and Tom Telesco and reasons why I believe AP and a couple of players went rogue. I mentioned that earlier. I'm ready to hire Gruden back, but no matter what coach we get, it might take a few years to rebuild. Definitely, I'd be interested in that. No tank. The Raiders are just a poorly coached team. So you don't think they were tanking in other games when we were in it to win it? I mean, yeah, I still think they were. I think Antonio Pierce was under in a delusion in his mind that he was under contract and he didn't care. So he was going to try things and try to coach and learn things. Because if we lose, he didn't care. Because he was under the illusion that he was under contract and everything. And we're going to talk about that more in a minute. But yes, AP sucks as a head coach. But I do believe that AP went rogue this week and put players in a better position to win in some sort of defiance against Mark Davis. We'll talk about that theory in a second. All right, y'all. Thank you guys for chiming in. Hit that like button. Let me get some of these banners and questions so we can talk about this stuff. All right. So, hear me out. What the fuck actually happened? Well, I talked about the theories going into the game. And going into the game, I'm going to say, from my opinion, 70% of the Raider Nation knew that losing, I'm not saying tanking, but losing the game is the best thing for our franchise. Why? Because it gives us the hope of a franchise quarterback that we have clearly wanted for many years. So Raider fans, we're only being sold to on hope. We're only being sold hope. And yes, we are all dedicated Raider fans. We all love the just win, baby. But in honesty, real Raider fans that are intelligent understand, looking at it from a fan CEO or fan general manager perspective, that we want a first pick in the NFL draft. Why? For that hope. We have been through some shit. And again, now that they are even promoting hope, the Raiders themselves have been promoting that hope for Shedeur Sanders, with Mark Davis meeting him. And all the Raider Nation is on board. Not all of them, but a lot of people are on board. And again, I am not on board with Shedeur Sanders. So you guys would think I'd be happy that we didn't get the first overall draft pick, or so far. I'm not. I understand from a fan and a fake GM perspective how meaningful the first draft pick is and how much leverage that team holds on other teams. I am smart enough to understand the future for the Raiders beyond a momentary win. So that's why, in my opinion, for me, I am livid at this victory. Like many of you are. Apparently, I didn't know it was there, but there's a Tank Nation versus a just win baby nation. Every year there's a divide of Raider Nation in some sense. Derek Carr, non-Derek Carr, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, Antonio Pierce, not Antonio Pierce. We, as an organization, are the most toxic, transparent, untransparent, dysfunctional, ridiculous organization as a whole. I can't even believe I'm still a fan. And then the new ones are just like, shit, kick rocks then, Mikey Raider. See ya. Bye, Felicia. Like, y'all don't understand the shit that we put in to this franchise, only to be given nothing. That's all I'm going to say about that. So you just win babies, or people that think I'm not a real fan, or whatever the fuck it is, keep using that Democrat type of verbiage, okay? To try to make me feel bad or make me look bad publicly, as you are the better person because you're not pissed off that the Raiders got a victory and they didn't tank. Go fuck yourself with that righteous bullshit. And I'm talking to you, JT the motherfucking brick, the Raiders reporter, Raiders announcer. Fuck you. Go read JT the Brick's post. That motherfucker. Many fans understand the perspective of losing the number 1 draft pick. I didn't even care if it was Shedeur Sanders. I don't care. I don't want him. So I should be happy, right? No. For my franchise, they are selling us hope of one of these young, athletic quarterbacks that could change the franchise. They are fucking selling it to us. And now, they took it all away on Christmas. Now, did we accidentally win? Maybe. But it created a shitstorm. And in my opinion, by us losing that game, whether Mark Davis wanted to win it or not, whether Antonio Pierce did not tank it, wanted to win it or not, the players, whoever, this win is the most insane thing in my brain, that we're all upset that the Raiders fucking won. It's like a twisted puzzle in my fucking brain. It's fucking twisted. And I'm feeling some sort of way about every side of the forum on this. But looking back from my just win baby nature and loving and knowing I love the Raiders probably more than half of you people out there that are listening, I'm not going to say that. You guys are dedicated. People on my channel are fucking dedicated. But knowing as a general manager, we needed that first pick. Can we still get it back? Maybe. If we lose both the games, the other teams win, I got to look up the fucking schedules. Maybe I'll do that in a little bit, where we look up the schedules of the teams in front of us. Because we went from the number 1 draft pick to number 6. And there's probably 2 or 3 teams in front of us that need quarterbacks. We'll discuss that in a second. So what happened? This loss has honestly, in my opinion, set us back another 3 years. You can only say 1 year until next year. But overall, this has possibly set us back 3 years. And it has, in my opinion, this has cost Mark Davis the future of our franchise in draft picks, and probably another $30 to $40 million he lost by winning. Mark Davis lost $30 to $40 million and some future aspects by winning. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. And we'll get into the reasons why in just a couple of seconds. I promise you guys, I want to know your opinion on this as well. Now, I don't know what happened during the game, why we won. Did they try to get a victory? Did AP try to get a victory? Whatever else has happened. I spoke about what was going on in the press between AP and Tom Telesco of how the Raiders are publicly trying to destroy, maybe the Raiders, allegedly, are publicly trying to destroy the image of Antonio Pierce. Maybe they're not, with all the gambling headlines and whatever else. And those headlines are going to get worse against Antonio Pierce. If the Raiders are trying to get rid of him, they're going to make it public. The Raiders are going to have investigators on him. They're going to pull out information that they got secretly if they're trying to get rid of Antonio Pierce. If they were trying to fire him, which was the belief a couple of weeks ago when all of this started to happen, that information is going to come out soon from the Raiders to destroy his image. Okay? But now, let's be honest. If Antonio Pierce knew all this and coached a good game and tried to coach a good game to a victory, and he went against the tank, if there was one, between Mark Davis and him and anybody, well, now the Raiders are pissed off. So Tom Telesco is going to separate himself even more from Antonio Pierce and maybe Aiden O'Connell. We'll talk about that in a minute. And now whatever information they were holding so they could fire Antonio Pierce at the end of the season, if Antonio Pierce went against the tank, that public information against Antonio Pierce is going to be coming out in the next 2 or 3 days. If Mark Davis and Tom Telesco are mad at him for winning the game. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. That's just a theory. It's a Mikey Raider theory, but that's my theory. Now, in another theory, Aiden O'Connell, he doesn't want to be on the team next year. That's just my theory. He doesn't want to be on the team next year. He went out and won the game. And here's why I think, again, in a theory, that maybe Antonio Pierce went rogue, but maybe even more so, Aiden O'Connell went rogue with Antonio Pierce, giving him the start. And Aiden O'Connell had the game of his life, besides the Kansas City game. I think Aiden O'Connell is not going to be with the team next year, and he knows it too. Because let's be honest, the talk was for Shedeur Sanders and tanking. Aiden O'Connell hears that. He knows that. He wants his next job on another team. After the Chiefs game and a couple of other games, he proved that he could be a borderline starter in this league for other teams. And who wants to stay in Vegas where they don't believe in you? They're publicly, possibly silently tanking. They're benching Aiden O'Connell for Gardner Minshew. Then they're putting in Gardner Minshew over Aiden O'Connell. And whatever. The dysfunction is all around. Aiden O'Connell went out there, went rogue. Maybe he was told not to win the game, or he changed the plays during the game to win the game for the players. Remember Jameson Winston did that a couple of years ago on a touchdown or whatever? He changed the plays to get that player a touchdown? I don't know. I don't know if it was a co-op between Antonio Pierce and Aiden O'Connell. And of course, the players want to win. They don't give a fuck what happens. They're playing for jobs. They're playing for tape. They're playing for footage. They're playing for contracts next year. They're playing for incentives. Maybe the actual Raiders team as a whole realized a lot of them are not going to be with the Raiders next year. They're not going to have the same coach. They're going to rebuild. They're going to do everything. They need jobs. They want to get some wins, get that taste out of their mouth. And maybe they all went rogue together. And again, how do you beat a team that's also tanking? I mean, it's really hard. If they made it too fucking obvious, the NFL and other people would like watch the game, and the other people would like investigate and all that. So I understand. How do you tank when both teams are possibly tanking? How do you do it without it being witnessed or recognized publicly? I don't know. It's an insane game. It's one of those games, in my opinion, that's going to live in infamy in NFL history. Okay? It's one of those games. Last year, we got a Christmas miracle by beating the Chiefs in a bad year. This year, we had the nightmare before Christmas for the people that were hoping for the first overall draft pick. This is one of those fucking Raider games that needs a nickname. The nightmare before Christmas game. I called it the Shadur Sanders Bowl. Now, can we still get the first overall draft pick? I don't know. Let's discuss that in a minute. But that's, in my opinion, what the fuck actually happened in theory form for this week's game. Just like that game in Washington with all the politics, we may never know what really happened. But in my opinion, this is like D-Day and like Pearl Harbor for the Raiders, because we had hope and everything in front of us. And now it's all gone. But again, publicly, how do you do that without people investigating you or hating you for a public tank? I don't know. I don't have the answers. All right, let's check out some comments real quick. Then we're going to get into another subject that I think you guys are all going to be very interested in. Guys, hit that super chat, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Support. All right. Do you think AOC wanted to win to keep us from getting another quarterback ahead of him? That might have been the case. But who could blame AOC? You want to get a victory as the quarterback. You're starting. And I believe Antonio Pierce, like I said, I think Antonio Pierce went rogue and started Aiden O'Connell because he was technically healthy. Remember, they trotted him out last week before the game in press conferences and everything, and then they didn't even play him. But they trotted him out like, oh, he's good to go, and then they didn't play him. Because that's before the information changed with Antonio Pierce. That's before he found out Tom Telesco and Mark Davis were plotting against him in the general meetings, and they separated themselves. So this week, Aiden O'Connell starts instead of Desmond Ridder, and they bench Carter Bradley. It's fucking insane, dude. We will pick 10th after we smack the Saints. Shadur blows anyways. I could agree with that. We might have around the 10th pick. We might actually win the next couple games. And I'll discuss that in a minute. Looks like Titans and Jags both at 3-12 play each other. So one of them has to win to make us move up to 5. All right, we'll talk about the Raiders' schedule in just a few minutes. I just wanted to quickly get to these things. It's time for Telesco to show us his skills. I agree with you. That's another good thing for winning, and I'm going to explain why maybe we won by winning instead of lose by winning. I'll explain that in a minute. When you have a good GM, hit the like button. I appreciate that. All right. Okay, real quickly, I forgot to do this. After the game and the victory, there's video footage of the Raiders players walking off the field. A lot of them are smiling and celebrating. But then there's a moment where Antonio Pierce comes off the field and he's not smiling. And there's like 2 guards or people with suit and ties around him. Like one in front, one in back of him. Does he need a security detail? I don't know. But I have noticed as of late, and I forgot to make the video last week, but when players are talking in the press conferences, there's like Raiders PR department people standing right next to the reporters and the players, listening to how they answer the questions. Because remember about a month ago or so, they silenced Brock Bowers from talking to the media after he did the Trump dance. They thought that was too political and the Raiders can't take a side. So they silenced Brock Bowers from then on forth. He has never talked to the media again. I think he did this weekend or this past game. I got to look that up. But still, there's been these people that are now watching the Raiders, and they did it last week with Jack Jones. And you can watch that in the footage. Now, They're trying to control the narrative. The Raiders PR department. They're trying to control the narratives. So that's why they have these PR people around the players and all that to speak. Now, during that walkthrough to the locker room after the victory, Aiden O'Connell comes off the field. I kid you not. There's two either security guards or public relations people with suit and ties and badges in front of Aiden O'Connell and behind him. Just like Antonio Pierce. Now, again, going back to the theory that Antonio Pierce went rogue and Aiden O'Connell went rogue, if the Raiders department was pissed off, they might have sent their PR department to stand in front of them because Raider fans mostly wanted the tank. So in a weird way, Raider fans might be mad for the victory and they might throw things at Antonio Pierce or they might throw things at Aiden O'Connell for winning the game. I'm not saying they would, which they didn't, thank God. But maybe the Raiders PR department didn't know what the Raider fans would do. So they put these tied security guards in front of these two specific people to guide them safely into the locker room. I don't know. Or maybe they were pissed off and they're like, oh shit, let's go have a talking to them. I don't know. Now, after every game, the Raiders.com posts the press conference live feed. And this week, they only had Antonio Pierce. Normally, it's the quarterback. After every game. Last week, after what Desmond Ridder showed in that press conference that I exposed in my previous video, they turned off the live stream when Aiden O'Connell went to the stage or the podium. They turned it off. He still went to the stage and the podium, and the video of Aiden O'Connell answering questions are on some other websites. But the Raiders.com live stream has been censoring and silencing things this whole time, this whole year. Because Antonio went live, then they started asking him questions about the tank, the winning, Tom Telesco, moving forward, whatever. And then Antonio Pierce said some interesting things that we'll talk about in just a second. But he said some interesting things that might rival Raider Nation up. Then the live stream ended after he got off stage, when they should have continued live streaming for Aiden O'Connell. But they knew the questions were going to come to Aiden O'Connell. They didn't know how Aiden O'Connell would respond compared to Antonio Pierce. Maybe the Raiders are mad at Aiden O'Connell and Antonio Pierce, so they just cut the fucking live stream. But it's out there. You can find it on reporters' websites. But from my recollection, the Antonio Pierce is the only press conference I saw on Raiders' YouTube channel. If the other one is there now, cool. Maybe they edited some words that Antonio said or Aiden O'Connell said. I do not know. I haven't checked it today, and I haven't watched his press conference today either. But it's going to be very, very interesting, y'all. I'm just throwing out what I see. Doesn't make it factual, doesn't make it meaningful, doesn't make it true. These are the things I see from a jaded Raider fan's perspective. Now, let's talk about what Antonio Pierce said in the press conference. He said, let's not talk about losing, let's talk about winning, when asked a question of some sort to that effect. I understand that's the right response. And apparently in the locker room, they played a song that has that exact information. So that means, let's be honest, Antonio Pierce hyped up the team this week in practice, wanted the team to win, And he wanted to show effort of good coaching. Because there's also reports that on the sideline, for the first time in, let's be honest, probably 10 weeks, Antonio Pierce was passionate. Running up and down, cheering on the team, doing this and doing that. There's reports that he finally did it this week against one of the other worst teams in the NFL. Why now, Antonio Pierce? Is it because you realize your job's on the line? Or you saw people's YouTube videos like mine where we called you out for not doing anything publicly, showing any effort? I don't know. Or maybe you just said, fuck it, I'm going to go rogue. I don't think I'm going to be hired next year. I'm going to be fired because of all the reports that are coming out. Tom Telesco is separating himself from me. Mark Davis is not returning my phone calls. Fuck it. I'm a coach this week. I was in tank mode for 8 weeks or whatever before, but now guess what? I'm a fucking coach. I'm going to look for my next job. I'm going to put Aiden O'Connell in there. I'm going to hype up this motherfucking team in the locker. I'm going to bring it all back as a fuck you in case I lose my job and I'm gone. I don't know. But all of a sudden, Antonio Pierce started coaching. Makes you think. Makes you think. What happened? Then he was also asked about losing, and thank God one of the reporters asked the question, because all the fucking Raider reporters like Hondo Carpenter and some of the other ones are fucking piece of shit and don't even ask the hard questions. Because they'll be removed by the Raiders PR department and they won't have locker room access. But I forgot who it was, but some reporter asked Antonio Pierce in the post-game press conference, they said, you know, I don't know if you've heard the rumblings, but you had the first overall draft pick, and by losing the game, you guys have moved down in the rankings. And what is your response to, you know, drafting a quarterback or whatever the question was? And then Antonio Pierce says, yeah, talk to Tom Telesco. Talk to Tom Telesco. And again, people say, okay, it's true. Antonio Pierce is saying the right thing. It's not my department. It's Tom Telesco's department. I understand that. But the way Antonio Pierce has said a couple of these things was in a angered, frustrated manner. Clearly something is happening where, like the report said, Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce are separating themselves from each other. Or Tom Telesco is separating from Antonio Pierce because Antonio is probably a dead man walking. So by Antonio Pierce answering the question that way, he's separating himself from Tom Telesco, just as Mark Davis said that they're going to be judged separately. That was a sarcastic response to the media about the quarterback and losing the first draft pick to number 6. That was a sarcastic public response to separate himself publicly from Tom Telesco and Mark Davis. That's exactly how Antonio Pierce answered the question. I wish I could show it to you guys, but you're going to have to go and find it and relive back what I'm telling you. So Antonio Pierce says, yeah, talk to Tom Telesco about that. Move on. Because you guys don't talk. You're not working together anymore. So that means you didn't fucking care if the Raiders won or lost. Maybe you were in tank mode when you thought you had a job. It's just riveting. It's fascinating, Raider Nation. I know some of you guys are mad at me for the way I'm talking and the theories and all that, but let's be honest. Our franchise is riveting. It is like a TV show at its worst. It's like a therapy session every week. It's like division, hatred, anger, happy, sad, love, support, patience. Fuck. No wonder we're in the entertainment Sin City capital of the world in Las Vegas. What the fuck are we now? I fucking hate this organization. I didn't say I hate the team. I said I fucking hate this organization and how it's being run. And that's the same way I feel about the American government and politics as a whole. Just greed, baby. Now, Aiden O'Connell, in his post-game press conference from the video footage that I saw, he wasn't smiling or anything. He actually, in my opinion, and this is hearsay, this is speculation, he looked a little worried. Like he made a decision to win the game, regardless of what they might have told him. He went out there to win a game, and he was happy for the team. I mean, for the players. But he looked like, that's it. I made my decision, and I'm going to rock with it. Like, kind of worried, but not. And like, this is a moment that I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Whether I'm going to be a part of this team or not. Because maybe I did something that I shouldn't have done. I don't know. But that's what I saw when I looked at him speaking. Not saying he did anything wrong or right or anything. Again, I'm in a negative space with this team, with our coach, with some of our players. Our organization, not our players. And there's a lot of shit, where people go against each other because of lack of transparency and communication with this organization. And it has happened everywhere, like with Devontae Adams and Derek Carr and this and that and Josh McDaniels and Jack Del Rio and Mark Davis versus the fans. And, oh, my God. It's all a fucking headache. All right, let's move on from the victory. That might have been a loss for us. And let's talk about... Sorry, let me get you guys' comments on screen again. And let's talk about where we move from here. Okay? All right, damn, how do I get to the comments? Okay, there it is. Pats are not going to win any of their upcoming Chargers or Bills. Abel Gomez, #1 Raider channel. Thank you very much, man. It's real talk, man. It's just fucking real talk. And who wrote that? I'm sorry, Price. Thank you, Price. It's fucking real talk. And if you guys don't want real talk, if you want all fluffy bullshit or fence sitters, go ahead. There you go. Dylan Suluku, how you been? I haven't seen that name for a while. Thank you for the support. Dylan Gabriel as Raider quarterback in 2025. Yeah, that's the Oregon quarterback, right? I'm starting to learn a little bit about these players. Yeah, that's an interesting facet. I believe Tom Telesco does love Oregon quarterbacks because he had Justin Herbert, with the Chargers. So that is definitely an option moving forward. But thank you for the support, and let's talk about some of the upcoming decisions and choices the Raiders need to make. Get someone that is mature. Dylan Gable is that man. Sanders can go to New York. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second as well. Do you think Daniel Carlson wants to take? He's been missing a lot of field goals. Again, I can't prove it, but in a conspiracy way, some players might want to be off of this team in a weird way. They want to get off this roller coaster ride. I can't say that truthfully. Maybe some players were being paid extra to miss field goals or something. Again, I don't know. It's all interesting to me. It's all interesting to me. Been good, man. Still staying a Raider, bro. Yeah, I'm still a Raider. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm fucking pissed off. And I'm livid. And honestly, not in a disrespectful way, but I'm going to sell my Raider jerseys in the next month. I think I have about 8 or 9 or 10 of them. I need money. I'm also very upset with this franchise. And I want to cleanse myself, but I need money as well. So I'm going to do a live stream where I sell my Raider jerseys to everybody live. And I might clickbait it like I'm quitting the Raiders, because it gets views. Maybe I can make some money. But like, I'm just really in pain right now emotionally. I am emotionally fucked up. Not only in life, but with this team as a whole. Hope we don't give up 3 first rounds for Sanders. Okay, so that brings me to the next couple segments. And I'm going to try to get out of here in the next 20 minutes. So get your questions in now. If you've got super chats, whatever, let me know. Appreciate it. But so there's now a divide online that started yesterday after the victory. There's Tanknation, which I was a part of. And then there's the Just Win Babies, which technically I'm a part of. Like I said, I'm fucked up mentally with all of this. But who's right and who's wrong? They're both right. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a fence sitter, but they're both right. They're both right. The Just Win Babies that are happy for a victory, they don't give a fuck about draft picks and all that. They just want the Raiders to win for the players, for the coaches and everything. I get it. You have a much more positive look at the Raiders than some of us do. But I'm also in that camp as well. I'm happy they won. I appreciate it. 10%. But I'm on knowing what I know about this team, this organization for this many years, what that first overall draft pick meant, and how I hoped we would have lost. I know I'm in 90% in the Tanknation category. Now, this should not fly, though. There should never be talk of tank or public signs that say tank for Shedeur in our stadiums like there was the last couple weeks. It is a bad look in all way around. But here's where it burns my britches about Mark Davis and this Raiders organization being dysfunctional, ridiculous, and moronic, and fucking evil, and censoring, and bullshit. Here's the hypocrisy. When all the conversations about Josh McDaniels were happening, and getting rid of Derek Carr and whatever, Raider fans would bring in t-shirts that said, fire Josh McDaniels, save Derek Carr, or bench Josh McDaniels, or whatever the case was, they'd bring in signs. Raiders Mark Davis and the PR department was escorting these people out of the stadium for that type of rhetoric going against the Raiders coaches or the organization. They escorted them and kicked them off of the field in the stands, and they removed him. There's videos out there that prove it. But now we have tank signs for Shedeur Sanders. That shouldn't be welcomed in Raider Nation publicly, even though we're silently thinking that. Did Mark Davis remove these people? Not that I'm aware of. That goes against the Raider organization because the Raiders are about just win, baby. And now our fans are claiming tank and wanting a tank against the organization. Mark Davis, did you remove them with security? I'm just saying, fuck you, Mark Davis. Fuck you. So, there's a lot of discussion on X and Twitter, that toxic fucking environment called X or Twitter or X Twitter. There's a lot of toxic discussions between some fans about just win and how the hell can you root for a tank? How the hell can you root for the Raiders to lose? Why the fuck can't you be happy? You're doing a disgrace to the organization by wanting the Raiders to lose. You're not a real fucking fan if you root for the tank. You're not a real fucking fan. Everything's being thrown at each other. So I asked the question, who's right? And I told you, both people are right. But now, if we take a step back, and that's what we're going to do, we're going to take a fucking step back, Raider Nation. Okay? You hear me? Whether what side of the fence you're on, just win, baby, tankathon, tank nation, whatever the fuck, we're going to take a step back. This win, technically speaking, fucked us in so many ways for a meaningless victory versus the Jags. How can it be meaningless, Mikey Raider? The players were so happy. The coaches were singing the song in the locker room. They were chanting, Raiders! I can understand that against the Chiefs. Okay? But not against the Jags, who are now in front of us to pick a possible franchise quarterback. They may not get one. They got Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. But still, looking ahead from an intelligent perspective, and that's what Raider Nation, the just win babies, need to realize. In the moment, it feels good. Okay? It's like fucking a girl with no condom. It feels fantastic until you cream. Then you got to think, if I cream, I might have a baby, I might have to marry this person, and I might have to live with them forever and be involved in that fucking drama. I'm going to lose my income. I'm going to lose my freedom. So should I cream? Should I stay here and cream? Or no? Move out. But it feels good when you do. So the Raider Nation and the Just Win Babies have a momentary minute of satisfaction. But there is a possible world of hurt after this this win. Just for a momentary creamsicle or a victory. Again, how do you tank without people really knowing it? I don't know. But you could have put in a game plan where they ran the ball more, some shit like that. Then the players would have been against you because they were trying to win. But it doesn't fucking matter. It's not about the players. And I'm sorry to say that. With the season that was given to us, even though you guys are happy the players won, they got a victory, just win, baby. This season, the minute we lost 7 games in a row, 6 games in a row, and it became possible tankathon, that was the minute this season was not about the players. This season was about the franchise and moving forward with hope. So, you just win babies that are talking shit to us people that wanted the tank and wanted the loss, I hope you're happy. You say you love the franchise more than us, right? That we're not real Raiders? Well, this victory cost Mark Davis $30 to $40 million, possibly the future of our team in draft picks, and may have fucked us. But in an alternate reality, and now let's get into the options, this may have actually blessed our Raider team as a whole. Because Mikey Raider looks at both sides of the spectrum. Okay? You feel me? So the Tank Nation people are more correct, in my opinion, than the Just Win babies. But I don't hate you, Just Win babies. I actually envy you. Because you got a more positive look at the Raiders than I do. I am fucked up with this team, y'all. I am fucked up. All right, let's talk about some options. All right, I just explained the loss. And now let's talk about some future options. Let's move on. We got the victory. Congratulations, Raiders. We got a victory, a meaningless victory versus the Jags. And we got a week, and we had a victory Monday, and all is good in the world. All right. Whatever problems it caused, let's worry about it later. Okay? Now, let's look at the options. Can we move up in the draft? Do we want to? Do we want to win the next couple of games? To go out on a high note of winning a couple of games this season? And it gives promise to future players that we're at least on the come up with a really bad team, and that next year will be that much even better. But possibly without the hope of a first round or a first draft pick quarterback in the top 5 picks. I don't know. The future is not certain yet. But that being said, the Raiders' upcoming schedule is, I believe it is the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if Derek Carr is going to play in that game, but they got a bad team as well, and they might be tanking. So there's a possibility with what we showed versus the Jags that if Aiden O'Connell plays, they might get another victory or risk publicly showing their tanking by not starting Aiden O'Connell or doing some weird ass shit again. I don't know. It's going to be another game like it was versus the Jags. Exciting, scary, and weird as fuck. Then I forgot who the team we play next is, but they're probably another losing team. You guys remind me who's after that. Is it the Panthers? I don't know. So there's a world where we win 2 of these games, or we win 1 of these 2 games, or, in all honesty, I hope we lose both of these games. Yes, I'm on the tankathon mode still. But we got 5 or 6 teams in front of, or 5 teams in front of us. I don't know exactly who they are. Forgive me, guys. I'd have to look on. Let me look on tankathon.com real quick while we're live streaming to see the teams that are in front of us. Let me see if I can get that on my little screen here. All right. So the New York Giants need a quarterback. They hold the number 1 overall pick. New England is second at 3-12. Do they need a quarterback? Probably not, because they got Drake May. And there was a rumor that Antonio Pierce with Dave Portnoy, Antonio Pierce saw Dave Portnoy in an elevator about 4 or 5 weeks back, and Dave Portnoy said, "Hey, something about how the Raiders doing," and then Antonio Pierce said, "We're in a competition with New England for the first overall draft pick." Well, that is technically true. So New England holds, and why would Antonio Pierce say that shit? And then he called us the worst team in the NFL, and oh my gosh, shit's ridiculous. New England holds the 2nd spot. Jacksonville holds the 3rd, according to strength of schedule. We're all tied. There's like 4 or 5 teams tied at 3-12. Okay, so it's New York, New England, Jacksonville, Tennessee, then Cleveland, who we know needs a quarterback. They're at number 5. Raiders are at number 6. Due to strength of schedule, we're at number 6. I would have been happier if we were at number 3. But we're not. That's why this win is just so rough. But look, the Giants are going to need a quarterback if they continuously hold that position, which I believe they will. New England doesn't need a quarterback at number 2 that I know of. Jacksonville technically don't need one at 3. Tennessee, they need one possibly at 4. And Cleveland needs one at 5. So in my recollection, there's at least 2 to 3 teams in front of us if our position doesn't change that need quarterbacks. So you honestly got to say there's a possibility of 2 or 3 teams picking a quarterback if our position doesn't change. And if, like publicly stated, we want Shedeur Sanders, that is not an option due to our positioning right now. Then there's also teams that might trade down to get value, like New England, if they don't need a quarterback, or Jacksonville, or even Tennessee. They might trade their pick down to get value and let another team give up their future franchise to get a quarterback in front of the Raiders. That is how big that win factors on our organizational future. But I'm not going to complain about it anymore. Now, from here on out, I'm looking forward and I'm trying to fix the problems that we created for ourselves. So the rumors are the Raiders want Shedeur Sanders. And then there's also a rumor that Deion Sanders said publicly that they're going to pull an Eli Manning to go to the team they want to play for. And after every loss, Shedeur Sanders has been writing "Thank God" after every Raider loss until last week. Then people started saying he does it because he's a faith man and he does it every Sunday. Look at the time and date stamps when he wrote "Thank God." We played on Black Friday last time. He didn't write that. Then on Sunday, he didn't write anything "Thank God." So you fuckers are wrong. Shedeur Sanders wrote "legendary." That's right. After the Raiders lost, he wrote "legendary." When the Raiders lost the first, or when they won the game and lost the first overall draft pick, he wrote "legendary." Did he mean legendary loss? Legendary stupid decision? Or does it mean he's now going to be legendary because he's probably going to play for New York, where his dad and whatever can make more money? I don't know. But you got to remember, it costs a lot more money to live in New York, and there's taxes in New York. There's no taxes and shit in Nevada. So if it's all money-based, Shedeur Sanders, you should want to play for Nevada. But maybe you don't want to be in Sin City. Maybe you don't want to play for a dysfunctional organization. You think you're better than that? I do not know. Only time will tell the true intentions of you. But that being said, Tom Telesco last year, we lost probably Michael Penix and Jane Daniels, and they didn't go all in with Tom Telesco to get Jane Daniels, who we publicly heard they wanted. They didn't go all in. They didn't give up the franchise. They stayed pat with Tom Telesco to try to build the foundation, and Brock Bowers fell to us, and we picked up Brock Bowers, and now we got a franchise, #1 tight end, breaking records and everything, which is fine and dandy and great. And it looks like Brock Bowers might be the player that no matter what quarterback throws him the rock, that he can play great and have a great future with this team. He is possibly the next or even better Travis Kelce in the NFL moving forward. So Tom Telesco, I applaud you. I'm proud of you, and I appreciate that. But we need a quarterback. Okay? Jane Daniels went to Washington, changed that team around in half a year. And they don't even have as many studs on offense that we kind of did, at least now with Brock Bowers. They had Terry McLaurin, and then they had old veterans like Austin Eckler and stuff like that. And they made it work. They had Zach Ertz and etc. But Jane Daniels changed the franchise in half a year. Brock Bowers cannot do that on his own. It was a great pick. It was a great pick. Even coming off of picking Michael Mayer in the second round, who will no longer be a Raider next year. I'm calling it now. Michael Mayer will not be a Raider next year. So, this year, the rumors are, now that we lost the number 1 draft pick, people are positive about Tom Teleshko. Let me put it on the comments. Sorry, guys. People are positive about Tom Teleshko, saying that he's going to build the franchise. We're going to take the best player at whatever draft position we have, and they're believing in all of that stuff. You know, Tom Teleshko, like last year, he's going to stay pat, and we're going to take the best player, and whoever that may be. But we need a quarterback. And a lot of people are giving excuses for the Raiders and all that. This ain't the best draft class for quarterbacks. The next year, there's a possible of the Manning kid or from Texas or whatever. I don't care. But a lot of people have faith in Tom Teleshko. And I do too. I like what he's shown us to make some good picks. But he started his team with Justin Herbert in the first round, I believe. Was it the first round? I believe it was. You cannot start a franchise with Brock Bowers. I mean, you can, but we started it, but we weren't able to finish it. So we need a quarterback. We need a lot of things. And if Mark Davis, like he has been doing publicly to make millions of dollars, if Mark Davis wants Shedeur Sanders, now he has to go all in against Tom Teleshko's wishes, general manager strategy. Mark Davis is now going to have to be the overlord. Like last year, Mark Davis maybe said, hey, I want Jane Daniels, Antonio Pierce, Jane Daniels. You know, I want Jane Daniels, or I want Michael Penix, or whatever Tom Teleshko and Mark Davis and whoever talked to each other about. But it didn't happen. Tom Teleshko said, hey, relax. All right, they moved up. They got Michael Penix. They drafted this person. Let's not reach for a quarterback. Let's not, Denver creeped up and got Bo Nix and all that. So let's stand pat. Let's pick Brock Bowers and all that. And Mark Davis and all them are like, all right, fuck it. You know, we just signed Gardner Minshew as well. You know, so he's our go-to. Okay, that was last year. This year is a different story. We need a quarterback. And now Tom Teleshko might have to, like I said, take the best player per his knowledge at that position, at whatever position we're at. But I believe Mark Davis is feeling the heat from the fans, and now he lost money with this tank, and he wants to get Shedeur Sanders, and Mark Davis falls in love with people like Gruden, whoever else, Josh McDaniels, and he falls in love with him. And guess what? If Mark wants a Coke whore to sit next to him in a primetime Black Friday game, Mark Davis is going to get a Coke whore to stand next to him in a primetime motherfucking game. So if Mark Davis wants Shedeur Sanders, which I believe he does, he's going to have to go against Tom Teleshko and whatever his general manager strategy is, and force Tom Teleshko to move up in the draft, or he's going to tell Tom Teleshko, trade our future draft picks or something like that to get the first draft pick or get Shedeur Sanders. So by winning the game, there's now a world where we have to climb up from number 3 or 4 to number 1 to get Mark Davis's guy to appease Raider Nation. But now we have to possibly trade Max Crosby for draft picks. Max Crosby might have been gone already. But there's a world where we might have to trade Max Crosby in the offseason to help his career out and get a couple of second-round draft picks or something from another team, and to try to blend it all with the first-round draft pick from 2026 to move up a couple of spots to draft Shedeur Sanders, who was already in our book when we had the number 1 draft pick before this week's victory. But maybe the Raiders know some information that I don't know. Maybe they know that Shadur Sanders is going to pull an Eli Manning and request a trade or whatever, but it's still going to cost us. Even if Shadur Sanders doesn't want to play for the Giants and gets drafted by them or whoever's next, and he pulls an Eli Manning, the Raiders are still going to have to creep up, give that team some draft picks or some capital to take Shadur Sanders from him. So we're losing a lot by the victory. Or maybe Shadur Sanders and Dion told the Raiders that they don't want to play for them. Maybe there's some inside information there where they're just not interested. There's a video just recently from this past week where Deion Sanders was asked talking about the Raiders and going to play for the Raiders and possibly being the coach. And he said, yeah, don't talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. Maybe it's collusion. They don't want the NFL to investigate. Maybe it's tampering. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, guys. But long story short, our options are limited now. And we're going to have to give up a lot of capital and cash to move up to get Shadur Sanders if that is our guy. And there's a world where Mark Davis is going to stop Tom Telesco from doing a good job as a general manager with no power of picking whoever he wants to pick at whatever position we pick at, meaning getting the next player, letting the draft fall to them. I mean, Tom Telesco might have, like you guys said, Dylan Gabriel on his mind. The Raiders, if we pick 3, 4, or 5, if we move up, maybe we get that guy that won the Heisman. But if you look back at the history of Heisman Trophy winners, they haven't done much in the NFL. What's his name? Travis Hunter? They haven't done much in the NFL. Not all of them. And he's a double-sided player. Is he better at cornerback or wide receiver? Is he a franchise changer more so than a quarterback at the first pick? I don't think he is. I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting offseason, everybody. And to sum it all up, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But all I know is from the bottom of my heart, and I mean this lightly, the Raiders lost more than they gained by winning the game yesterday. And if you disagree, that's okay. But I beg you to look at the entire history of this franchise the past 20-something years and the ineptitude that our franchise is under. And how many top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in recent years have actually changed that team's franchise from one of the worst to one of the best. I guarantee you it's more so than not. So we fucking lost by winning. All right, let me look at a few comments before I get on out of here. And we're going to have more live streams like this, in the weeks ahead, I promise, from the bottom of my heart, as the new year approaches. And I'm going to try to be there more for you guys. And like I said, I need some money. So if you feel like giving me some money, becoming a member, super chat, donations, I appreciate it. I'm going to probably be selling some of my jerseys probably like right around the new year. So if you guys want to buy some official Mikey Raider jerseys, I'll even autograph it for you if you want me to. Stay tuned. I'll put out a live stream about that. But I'm not quitting the Raiders. I'm just leaving emotionally for a little while. I'll be back tomorrow, trust me. All right, let's check out some of the comments before I get on out of here. And then I go to my acting channel and do a quick live stream. Okay, you saying, oh, we play the Saints, then the Chargers. Okay, well, the Chargers, they might be in the playoffs at that point. So they might sit some of their players. It's going to be hard to tank that game as well. And it's a revenge game for Tom Telesco. Saints and Sparklers is who we play. Suleku says we can win both of those games. I know. What's up, Thrash? How you doing, brother? That's good. He can learn how to manage his money in New York. Yeah. You guys are missing the point. Look at the freaking offensive coordinator. In New York or out here for us? I don't know. Again, that's questions about Scott Turner, Norv Turner. I kind of liked what they've done with the team. I would love a Ben Johnson to become the head coach. I don't know. I do not know. Raiders need an elite offensive coordinator, or else this whole quarterback thing will never work. Well, I mean, my opinion on Shedeur Sanders is he's too much for any new coach or offensive coordinator to handle. And there is a world where they fire AP, and maybe that's why he went rogue, because Deion Sanders is going to become our next head coach with Shedeur Sanders. But if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I don't want my father that was already my coach in college and running my career, I don't want him in the NFL being my head coach. I want to go on my own. I want to have my own greener pastures. I don't know why Shedeur Sanders as an individual would want that. That's just my opinion. I don't know why he would want that. You know, coming into your own, becoming your own man beyond your fucking father. But that seems impossible with Deion around. Just my opinion. Yep, we need a better O-line to give the quarterback 3 or 4 or 5 seconds in the pocket. I like Aiden O'Connell. I mean, he may have to be our starter next year, depending on all of this stuff that's going on. And I wouldn't hate that. I'm more in now on Aiden O'Connell should have been our starter than Gardner Minshew than I was at the beginning of the season. I wanted Gardner Minshew. I believed in Minshew Mania. I thought Gardner Minshew was better. But now that more has been revealed about Aiden O'Connell, if we go back to the beginning of this year, maybe Antonio wanted him as the starter. I do not know. But I wish Aiden O'Connell would have been the starter this year to please the Raider fans. Maybe Devontae Adams would have stayed. I don't know. But now looking back, I can see Aiden O'Connell starting for a team, or at least competing for the actual starting job better next year, depending on who our quarterback options are. Shedeur isn't a sure thing. Nobody is, Big Al. And by the way, Merry Christmas, Big Al. How you doing? That's true, Raider. The offensive coordinator is very important. You're damn right it is. I like Scott Turner. I do like what he's been doing with our team. We got to continue to build up the O-line. Facts. Quarterbacks are gone. Hunter is gone. I'd probably draft Mason Graham. I don't know who that is, John L. I got to look into that college shit. Maybe I'll do that in a future live stream with you guys. Raiders can wait for Drew Allaire, quarterback out of Penn State, first round. Not that I even wanted Shedeur Sanders, because I really don't, so I should be happy. But I wanted the hope of the first draft pick where there would be no more excuses for the Raiders' ineptitude, you know, from the general manager or anybody. You know, we got the wrong guy. They took Michael Penix in front of us. Oh, we wanted James Daniels, but we couldn't move up. So we technically wanted him, but we couldn't get him. Well, if you had the first overall pick, there's no more fucking excuses of picking the right guy. In a weird way, it would expose our general managers and our organization as a whole. Whether they're complete fuck-ups and they pick wrong again, like Jamarcus Russell or whatever the case, or they finally can say, we wanted him, we got him, and now he's a MVP, And we told you. Maybe a new offensive coordinator, not a new quarterback is the way to go. What do you think, Mikey? Again, depending on our options in the draft, we're going to get a new quarterback. No matter what, we're getting one. It might be late in the first round. It might be actually in the second. Or we might climb back up into the first. Or whatever the case may be. But there is a world where if we have the 4th or 5th overall pick and the Raiders quarterbacks are gone that they specifically wanted, that we trade down, get a couple more picks, then we pick another player in the first round, and then we get a quarterback in the second. Again, it's gonna be an interesting draft day experience, to say the least, no matter what. I guess we all forgot about Tim Brown. What does that mean? We forgot about Tim Brown. I don't know. I don't know what that means. All right, everybody. I got to get going. I'm feeling some sort of way. It's been a hectic day, man. I had technology problems to go live, and I got to do another live stream right now for about an hour on another channel. So I'm going to get going. But hey, if you guys appreciated it or you had any questions or comments, please leave it down below. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Is any of my speculation worthy of being real? How do you feel about this loss? Are you a part of Tanknation or Just Win, baby? How are you feeling after this? Who you want our quarterback to be? Are you going to give up or quit on the Raiders for at least a couple of weeks to get your emotions back? Like, what are you dealing with this Christmas time? And other than that, I don't know what else to say, but I truly love you guys. I appreciate y'all for being in my life. It's before Christmas, so I just wanted to say Merry, Merry Christmas. Hopefully you and your family find a beautiful holiday and a beautiful day of life. And no matter the anger that we have toward this team and stuff like that, we're all truly blessed to be alive, to be here, to have life in our lungs, or breath in our lungs, and life in our heart, and a roof over our head and food in our fridge. So God bless each and every one of us. Out of the words of Tiny Tim, I'm Mikey Raider. Thanks for hanging out with me and letting me rant for a couple hours. And this has been therapy for me. I don't want to talk about winning the game anymore. Now we're going to talk about options on what the Raiders do to try to fix this dysfunctional franchise. Let me know how to do so or your thoughts on that exact question in the comments down below. I'm out of here. Good night, True Raiders Loco, Frost, Big Al. Talk to you soon.